Episode 20 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. Team Canada rolling along at the Olympics in Milan Cortina. Justin Verlander re-signs with the Tigers. The ABS strike zone system now full-time in MLB. The Warriors had a busy weekend getting all 6 of their points. The Lincolns get 2 of 3 games and 4 of 6 points for second place. Strathroy Rockets take down the Waterloo Siskins this weekend and are now in the playoff picture, an 8th spot. And Dave Graff is back talking about the new Netflix show everyone's talking about, Miracle, The Boys of 80. All that and more on episode 20 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.
6 guys, 3 sports, no leash. This is the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. Football, hockey, and baseball the way it's meant to be. Loud, raw, and completely unfiltered.
Yes, Guy. Look at these 2 fine specimens. Ian Shank and Brian Hawley. How are you, gentlemen?
We're good.
Good.
Nice. You guys just got back doing some advanced scouting over in St. Mary's, checking out the Family Day Lincolns game, Lincolns and Stars. Well, I know you did, Halzer, but Shanker, I think you had some family business to attend to, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so let's get right at it. Team Canada over in Milan just rolling along. They're 3-0, now playing for keeps. If they lose, then they're out of it. They play the winner of Czechia and Denmark on Thursday, I believe. So let's start off with the first game that Team Canada played. They played Thursday, 5-0 win over Czechia. My goodness, they outshoot the Czechs 36-26, total domination, but they needed a couple of big saves from starting goaltender Jordan Binnington. He made a couple of big saves when it was 0-0. What did you 2 guys see with the opening game? We'll start with you, Shanker.
Czechia, they came out a little bit hot at Canada. Like you said, they just kept peppering them with shots, and Binnington was keeping them in it. But then that lasted, maybe 5 minutes. And then McDavid kind of said, enough's enough. Watch me go here.
Halzer, were you able to sneak a few peeks in there with the opening game?
Yeah, I thought it was just an adjustment to the pace of the play that, I'm sure they were prepared for, but sometimes, you just need to get punched in the face once or twice at a tournament like this to get your feet underneath you. And, I thought they came out after a bit of a shaky first period. To your point, Binnington was rock solid, just like they expected him to be. Get into the room. There's so much veteran presence on that team in that room that, I'm sure there wasn't a whole bunch of yelling and screaming. It was just a matter of getting to their system, getting their feet moving, and picking up the pace of play. I thought they did that really well the rest of the way. A couple people really impressed me that I haven't seen a lot of, and that's the Harley kid defenseman,
Yes.
number 20. And you know what? I think he got an assist in that one and 2 assists or a goal and assist. He got 3 points, I think, in the first 2 games. And he's, right away I noticed him. And I think he's played real well thus far through the tournament. And, as well, McDavid just kind of jumped off. But the one who's really getting me is Celebrini. And, we talked about Celebrini last week about should he be playing up there with McDavid. So instead of replacing Celebrini on that line, they pulled Tom Wilson off. And it's hard to say it. They give him Nathan McKinnon. And so you've got arguably the 2 best hockey players on the planet playing together on the same line. And here's a 19-year-old kid out there playing with him. If they were going to take one or the other off the line to put McKinnon on, I imagine most Canadian hockey fans would have said, well, you got to put Wilson on there. With 2 skilled guys like that, Wilson's a great add to that line, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I saw the interview after the game, And, he's 19 playing with the two best players in the world. And he stood up there in the interview and went, yeah, that was fun. It's good. I like playing with those guys. They're fun to play with.
He doesn't look out of place.
Oh my God. How
No.
mature is this kid for 19 years old?
Yeah.
Think of anybody including yourselves. You just, I get to play with those two. You know what I mean? It'd be hard to, you'd be smiling. It wouldn't matter if you lost 10-0. You'd still be smiling because you got to play with those guys on a line. But this is just another day at the office for this Celebrini kid, and his maturity and his poise for a 19-year-old kid is blowing my mind.
He had a nice deflection to open up the tournament scoring, gets Canada up 1-0. But the goal that really impressed me was Stone's goal, where Mitch Marner went in and the Czech defender slid on the ice, so he couldn't slide it under him. So what does Mitch do? He backhand sauces it right onto Stone's tape, so he's just got to shovel it into the empty net. I thought that was the goal of the game. But Bo Horvat had a great goal too. He turned on the afterburners and deked out the goal. McKinnon, Suzuki, they were all in on scoring. But to your point, Halls, Harley had 2 points in the first game. McDavid had 3, and Crosby had 2 points as well. Let's talk about the second game on Friday. 5-1 win against the Swiss. Kind of surprisingly, they started Logan Thompson in net there. I thought that they would have just, with it being a short tournament, they would have just rode Binnington the whole way. But they start Logan Thompson. He stops 24 of 25 shots. They outshoot the Swiss 39-25. And that's the game that you were talking about, Halser, where because it's such a short tournament, they were interviewing John Cooper. And after they talked to him, goals for and against is so important for your seeding after the round robin. And I think what Cooper wanted to do, he was unhappy with the amount of goals Canada was scoring. So they're thinking that's why he ended up yanking Wilson midway through the second period, or at the beginning of the second period, put McKinnon on the line with Celebrini and McDavid. And they just started clicking immediately. But what did you guys see in that game?
Go ahead.
Halser, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, that was a much better game all the way around. I thought that the quick score back by the Swiss kept their feet firmly planted on the ground, and they got them. I don't think the Swiss got 4 more scoring opportunities the rest of the night. I figured they'd be a stiffer test than the Czechs were. And I think there's probably some evidence to that. But, it's what you come to expect of the hockey club, where, when you're playing against there's no letdown there. There's no World Junior Czechia problem, because these guys just won't let it happen. They're too deep. They're too big. They play the game properly. And, so the Swiss are a good team with some good players. But at the end of the day, they're just, they could play him 10 times and beat him all 10.
Shanker, what did you like about that game?
I agree with you about the Binnington. I thought they would have started Binnington, then went to Thompson against France. But yeah, it's boys against men. Like, that's like Canada, they play when they want. They can score when they want. And that's what impresses me, is like they can back check and to just keep the puck in the opposition's end at will on 5-on-5. But that game came with a price. Morrissey got hurt for Canada, which I think it's going to hurt as long as he's not out too much longer. But yeah, these games help build a bit of chemistry in them. But I'm looking forward to a medal round here.
Quick highlights from the second game, the 5-1 win against the Swiss. I was really impressed with how much McDavid is shooting in this tournament. John Cooper has said to him, we know that you're a great passer. Don't be afraid to shoot it. Like on the first goal, he had Crosby backdoor, and he chose to shoot it and got it by the Swiss goalie. In maybe another tournament 4 years earlier, where he's still maybe in awe of Sid the Kid, he may have tried that cute backdoor pass, but he let it rip, gets Canada up 1-0. Another Marner highlight I thought was on Crosby's goal, where Marner was at the point and he did the hard pass to Crosby standing there off to the side of the net, and all he had to do was redirect it past the Swiss goalie. So they were humming along. McDavid, McKinnon each had 3 points. Celebrini and Makar had 2 points each. So let's get to the game that they had against France on Sunday, a 10-2 win. But this was the most entertaining, even though it was the biggest blowout. It was the most entertaining of the 3 games so far. They outshoot the French 46-14. Everything was going according to plan. Tom Wilson starts again with Celebrini and McDavid on the top line, and Wilson gets them on the board with a rebound after Drew Doughty had taken a clapper from the point. I thought that it was a great play to start with Wilson knocking the French player off the puck behind the net. Then he passed it out to Doughty, who ended up taking the shot, and he got the rebound off of that. Schenker, we'll start with you. What did you think of that game?
Well, Marchand didn't play. They gave him a day off, and that's fine. But how about Sidney Crosby? Like, he has 6 points now in the tournament, and I'm not sure how many points he's away from the Team Canada total for like the leader, but and like Celebrini again, Crosby, all the big guys stepped up. And I know it's France. These guys aren't no slouches. And just like you said at the start about the goals for and against, like, it's good for Canada. You had to run it up because you didn't know how bad the States were going to win against Germany. I don't know if it was the early second or late in the first when they had that 5-on-5 in France's end for like 2 minutes. They just passed the puck around, and France couldn't do nothing 5-on-5. So I like this team. This Team Canada looks pretty good right now.
They're humming on all cylinders. Halser, what did you like about that game?
I thought that they were a little loose. Parayko had a rough first period.
Oh, did he ever?
He had a bad giveaway and then failed to cover his man on the rebound, who ended up getting the goal. So that was not a real highlight for Parayko. You expect the offensive production. I thought it was a good game just for continuity's sake, just to help some guys who were playing together. And Stone was the one that stood out for me. Guys like Stone, you don't get to see play very often if you live in the East Coast, because he doesn't play until 10 o'clock at night. And he's not on TV. So unless you're a really, really avid Las Vegas fan or someone who maybe works afternoon shift or something like that, you're not going to see him play a lot. But every skill that he possesses was on display in the first 2 or 3 games. The way he goes to the boards and wins puck battles, he goes to the net, he goes to the dirty areas on the ice, and he thrives. He's faster than he looks, even though he's probably the slowest guy on the team, maybe.
Yeah. He says that.
But there's 2 kinds of quick, right? There's skating quick, and then there's playing quick. And maybe it's because, he reminds me a little of myself in the fact that I wasn't much of a skater either. So I knew I looked smarter because I had lots of time to think about it before I actually got to the puck. So, and that's kind of the Mark Stone way of life, is that he'll go into any area and win the puck. He'll stand up for a teammate like Wilson did. And so it's just fun to watch guys like him and Wilson play. I said last week, I'm an old school power forward guy, and those are 2 of the best in the world right there. They aren't going to lead any league in scoring, but they are going to put up big points. They're going to light up the guys that you don't want to get hit. He'll fight anybody on your team. And, they chip in the odd goal here and there too. So it's been a lot of fun watching those guys play.
Stone's breakaway goal at the end of the first was...
Yeah, the shorty.
Like, he just didn't panic there at the blue line, just waited for the France guy to make the pass, and he picked it off, and away he went with 2 seconds left to score.
I think it speaks volumes to his game, the fact that he's killing penalties, because normally those are speed demons. Those are good. I mean, you have to be a good skater to be a penalty killer, and he's blowing up that, stereotype big time, because he's not the best skater, but he's so
smart.
His shows off, like, he shows his grit, and he shows his flair, and he shows his talent, and he shows his will, and he shows his anticipation too. So yeah, nothing but really great things to say about Mr. Stone, that's for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about France's Pierre Creanon, where he hit McKinnon in the face there behind the net. And he tried apologizing to McKinnon after he hit him, and McKinnon's sitting on the ice. We think it's all over and done with. And then you have Tom Wilson going over to the French players and the bench saying, look at guys, like we're already up 9-2 on you. So let's just run out the clock and, everybody goes home and it's all good. Well, no, that jackass has to start mucking it up again in the corner. And then him and Wilson get at it. He's a big dude, though, that French guy, Crinan. He threw Tom Wilson down on the ice. Now, he grabbed him by the front of the sweater.
Yeah. You're not expected to get floored like that.
No, he horse-collared him.
Basically.
Yeah, and he threw him down. And the other thing that I didn't understand is after that hit with McKinnon, that really fired him up, and you could see him. He took a penalty, an interference, or I forget exactly what the penalty was. McKinnon takes a penalty. John Cooper should have been smart enough in the third period to sit McKinnon. And now what's happening? He hurt his left leg. We don't know how severe. There's no reports coming out of Italy at this point, but I thought that was just poor judgment in Cooper's. Now, guaranteed, you've got McKinnon going, I'm going back out there, but it was up to Cooper and his staff to say, look at Nate, just sit down. We got this. But now, hopefully it's not severe, but he tweaked something in that left knee, left leg area. He looked to be okay coming off the ice, but he was gingerly exercising it there at the net and at the end of the game. So we'll wait and see what happens there. All right. Well, now that End Zone and Fantasy is over with, we've got a brand new baseball segment called Swing and a Miss. We'll be right back with our new baseball segment.
End Zone and Fantasy. Brought to you by TNT Security, Inc., where security meets reliability. Call Todd Schmidt today for a security quote on your concert, dance, sporting, and alcohol event, business, property, or mobile patrol security.
All right. Big news in the baseball world. Cactus and grapefruit leagues about to start. You got pitchers and catchers already reported. We'll start with you, Schenker. Your Tigers had a big signing with Justin Verlander coming back to them after a hiatus. What do you think about that signing?
Well, when I first heard about it, I was like, all right, bring him back for one victory lap. And then I got thinking about it and thought, well, this doesn't make sense now because now they have 6 starting pitchers. Lo and behold, 2 hours later, Reese Olson is done for the year for surgery. So now Verlander slots into the 4th starter or 5th starter with Casey Mize. But 1-year deal, $15 million. You can't go wrong. He's a gamer and he's going to be a clubhouse leader, and hopefully he teaches Scooble a thing or two. And hey, if it's
Google's
1 year,
excited to play with him.
Yeah.
Like, you listen to him and he's like, man, I can sponge all this information off a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. So you got your best pitcher in the American League for sure, possibly the whole league excited.
Verlander was talking about he wants to get 300 wins. He has 266 right now. I don't know
a couple years.
That's 34 wins, right? Is that? I can't see him getting it, but I don't know. I think it's a 1-year deal. I think the Tigers are in here for 1 year because after this year they lose Flaherty. Mize is a free agent. Scooble's going to be a free agent. So I think this is putting all their eggs in one basket and going for it. Hopefully they stay healthy.
Halser, what do you think of that signing?
Well, clearly they knew something before they made the signing public. It reminds me of what Toronto did with Max Scherzer last year. It's about the same money. I think maybe Scherzer got 16 or something like that. But a guy who probably will go on the disabled list at some point with some mysterious ailment, just to make sure that he's, free to, have his arm fully built up in time for an August-September run. So it's a good signing for them. The real value is, I think has already been stated, is that you've got other starters who are going to pick his brain and learn some stuff about pitching in the major leagues that they didn't know, even veteran guys. And I anybody with 4 or 5 years in the league, like a Valdez or a Scooble, you know what I mean? They still learn from guys like Verlander about how to take care of your body, what you're doing between starts, some of the mental stuff, dealing with hitters and how they react to certain pitches, just experience that, that you can have analytics out the wazoo, but experience is still the best teacher, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't it be interesting if they ended up signing Max Scherzer and got him back again? That would be entertaining. Okay, let's let's get into the ABS system that is now going to be in full implementation. The ABS system, for those of you that have been sleeping under a rock, that's where they have the box behind home plate, where catchers, pitchers, and hitters are the only three that can challenge the call. Every team gets 2 challenges per game, and the players can tap their hat to challenge a ball or a strike. And if a game goes into extras, I was doing some research, and I like the idea. If a team's used up their 2 challenges and don't have any, in extra innings, you get 1 challenge per inning. So I thought that was pretty cool. But they said that only 52% of calls were overturned in spring training last year. So it's not like every call is obvious and gets overturned. It's like half of them. The other thing I thought was interesting was that it's specifically customized to each player's body height. So, for example, you're not going to have Altuve have the same strike zone as Aaron Judge. So it measures their height, and then it gives a true definition of a batter's zone for each player. So I thought they've done a lot of research. They haven't rushed it in. They've been using it in the minors now for a couple of years, and they used it in the majors last year in spring training. And I thought they've really done their homework on that. But what do you guys think of that, Halser?
Yeah. So they say that pitchers can use it. I mean, the technology, first thing I should say, the technology has been there for a few years. They've been testing it, as you mentioned, in the minor leagues for the last 3 seasons. The frequency is what's curious to me, in the fact that generally they don't go over the 2 per game. So it's roughly 2%, about 1 out of every 50 pitches gets challenged. And the average time it takes, one of the biggest beefs we all have in the NHL is how long it takes for them to do video replay reviews on offsides and whatever. Sometimes several minutes, I think, has been the case before. The average stoppage on a ball strike call is 13 and a half seconds. So if they get their standard 4 to 5 a game, and it takes the standard 13 and a half seconds, that's exactly 1 minute of added time on to any ball game to check 4 pitches. And, if you're smart, you're not going to use it on strike 1 or 2 or ball 2 or ball 3. These are only from the offensive standpoint. You probably tell your players, you will not use a challenge unless it bounces. You will not use a challenge before you have 2 strikes. And there are already teams, and I certainly agree with this, that tell pitchers, you are not allowed to challenge pitches. So I think what you'll find is several teams will be telling their pitching staff, you're not allowed to challenge. So it'll be mostly only the pitchers and catchers that are doing it. And you tap the helmet. They also have only 2 to 3 seconds. So that was an important one too, because the last thing you want is a guy out on second base tapping his helmet, telling the hitter it was out, and that just makes a mockery of the rule. So that's why they're they're really quick to say you don't have 5 seconds to sit and think about it. You got 2 seconds to get your hand on your head to call for a challenge, and otherwise we move on. The other thing that was interesting too is that you can't challenge on a play that there's already a challenge. For example, if it is 3-2 count with a runner on first, and the pitch is right down the middle and he calls it a ball, and then the guy is stealing. Okay. So you got a banger at second, and if they go to replay on the call at second, they won't also allow the pitch to be challenged, which is an interesting scenario. And I know because it's baseball, because absolutely everything happens at least once a year. And this is going to happen where they're going to have a pitch that is blatantly strike 3, but it might be ball 4. But if it's strike 3 overturned, then the guy who slowed up going into second base because he thought it was ball 4, is he out now? So there's going to be some scenarios that might be challenging, but overall I love it because every once in a while, Shanker's done a ton of umpiring. I've done a ton of umpiring, and we'll be the first to admit every once in a while, man, we kick one bad. And to have a do-over like that, I would personally, as an umpire, welcome it, and I hope the pros do as well.
Shanker, what do you think of it?
I like it. And I'll just add your point, Razor. They've already warned the players, like once you've been measured in spring training, if you change up your batting stance to make it smaller during the year, you will be called out on it and penalized. And 2 or 3 years ago, when we were down in Nashville, we sitting there before the game, they announced, we're going to use the ABS system. And I was like, okay. And it was the longest game I've ever sat through because that was the first year they put it in the minor leagues, and it was rough. But last year when we went to a minor league game, you hardly even noticed it. The umpires were like, the pitch came in, 2 seconds later, he made the call. So
Right.
I like it. It's going to make less arguments, and they got to do something, right? Because the umpires are taking a beating. The managers are looking for excuses. They get thrown out the odd time. And why not do it on strike calls or a ball call? So I think it's just a way to protect the umpires and also to speed the game up because it's getting so fast.
I think the biggest thing that has to do with it is there's so much money at stake now. Gambling, let's face it, gambling drives live viewership for sports. And they have to make sure that they're getting things correct, or else the owners and MLB is going to hear about it. So I think it's a good thing, and I'm glad that they've been testing it. And hopefully, you're right, Halser, there are going to be a few hiccups here and there, but it's still going to be a way better system than, having Angel Hernandez behind the plate, just going all over. But
yeah, I wonder if we'll get, Laz Diaz is a bad one too. Every once in a while, I wonder what if we're going to bet on something, we should bet the over under on what the most amount of successful challenges are in one game, because if you get your challenge right, you get it back.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's same as the NFL. If you win your challenge, you get that challenge back. Yeah. So, you're thinking about Angel Hernandez on a bad night, and some teams got 8 or 9 successful challenges in a ball game,
Wouldn't that have been something? All right, quickly, let's talk about some baseball injuries, Halser. What do you got for us?
Well, the magic word over this spring training is the hamate bone. And of course, I'm not a doctor, but, there's a hamate bone, which is kind of at the base of the hand on the back near the wrist. And now, obviously, when you're standing, especially as a right-handed hitter like I am, that's exposed. And so most of the guys wear some kind of padding there. But the truth of the matter is that they can break their bone on check swings. Remember, these guys swing, as we always used to say, they swing from the ass out. They don't hold anything back. They're trying to make some money. They're trying to hit home runs. And so checking that 100% swing is hard on the hands too. And there are guys that are actually breaking bones in their hand on check swings, not just getting hit by pitches. And there were some significant names on that list, not the least of which is Lindor from the Mets and Corbin Carroll from the D-backs.
Jackson Holiday too.
Jackson Holiday from the O's as well. That's right. So you're talking about prime players that are going to be missing varying amounts of time. They say Lindor may be ready for game 1 of the regular season. They're not quite so optimistic on the other two fellas, but that's just one of many things. How many people are showing up day 1 in the Jays spring training? Day 1. Okay. And I'll get to the fun one last, but Bowden Francis, who missed all of last year with shoulder problems, is going to miss all of this year too with another surgery.
He's having what, Tommy John?
He's having Tommy John. And so I tell you what, I'm just going to get right to Santander because it's killing me, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Bieber's got a tired forearm, but I think it's the same kind of situation as Scherzer last year, where remember Scherzer at the start of the year had that really bad finger that kept him out for 2 months, and then when he got back, the finger wasn't a problem anymore. So with Bieber, they'll just take it slow with him. I think that's part of the reason why he signed so quickly, is that he knew he had whatever this tightness in his forearm. It's not tightness, that's a different thing. Just some.
They said it's inflammation, right forearm inflammation.
Yeah, because that's generally a major red flag. Tightness in the forearm is a major red flag for season-ending injuries for pitchers. But this is a little more a case of lethargy. So they think that at some point the rest will help, which is why they've got 6 starting pitchers. Barrios will almost assuredly start the season in the rotation. And then whenever Bieber is ready, then they're going to have to make a decision from there. But then you've got Santander, and this is one that's really, really pissing people off. Here's a guy who knew he had a bad shoulder and chose, instead of surgery, because keeping in mind, he wasn't in with the Jays the whole time. He missed the last 2 games, at least, of the ALCS and all of the World Series. Or was it even the round? Because so anyway, he got injured early. So he was done mid to latter part of October. So he hasn't played any baseball now in 3 months. And it'll be 4 months before the regular season starts. And so he decides to go with rest and rehab. Then he starts swinging a bat. He swings a bat for half an hour. All of a sudden he decides my shoulder still hurts and I need surgery. Now he's not going to be back till, I think optimistically, September 1st. September 1st, 6 months. He wasted 3 months of time where he could have just got it operated on and started the healing process, and he'd be back at the All-Star break. Instead, this is what he's doing now. And there's a lot of people that really rubs the wrong way. What the hell have you been doing? Resting and rehabbing.
Yeah.
How much rehabbing are you doing when swinging the bat makes you need surgery? So that's really frustrating situation there, where a guy who they're paying, not just the amount that they're paying. I don't care what they're paying them because I don't work for Rogers, so I don't give a shit what they're paying them. But my point is, they let Bo go knowingly and willingly, like there was no chance that they were going to sign him, with the full expectation that Santander was going to protect Vladdy in the lineup. But now he's not there. So now who's left to do that? Like, now are they not only down Bo, but they're down the guy who they thought would be a solid replacement for Bo in the lineup because he missed so much time last year. So it sounds to me like it's Kirk or it's Barger, most likely, being a left-handed bat. But if they don't have somebody that's going to hit behind Vladdy, then Vladdy's going to see nothing but shit in the dirt all spring until somebody behind him starts hitting. This is a major blow to Toronto, a lot bigger than people are talking about. And I know he didn't do anything last year per se, but they were counting on, if not 40 home runs, 25 or 30 or some kind of incentive to pitch to Vladdy ahead of him. And that's what's important.
All right. While we got Clarkie waiting in the wings, let's hear from our sponsor, Nick Hishin with Indy Mortgages, and we'll be right back with Buzzin' with Clarko.
Buzzin' with Clarko, a weekly roundup of the Stratford Warriors with Jason Clark, brought to you by Nick Hishin of Indy Mortgage, the independent mortgage company serving customers from coast to coast with access to well over 50 lending options available. Give Nick a call as he works for you, not the banks. FISRA license number 12403.
Yes, Guy.
Gentlemen.
What's going on, Clarkie? How are you, brother?
Not too much. You guys?
Not too much. You made it back. You made it back from Listowel, did you?
I did get back from Listy. Yeah. Nice foggy trip up to Listowel this afternoon, and a good ride home. Yeah.
No disguise this week or what?
No disguise this week. No.
Hey,
I can't keep coming up with something every week. I'm not like Graffer.
I actually had somebody say to me, who was that doing Clarkie's segment there last week? And I said, it was him. And they're like, oh my God. They're like, I had no idea that was him. I said, well, he was incognito. I said he didn't want anyone to know, with him being a Patriots fan and the first two games, the way the Warriors played last weekend. So had a good laugh over that. But
I had to charge my phone 3 times a day last week.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, this weekend was a little bit better. You got 6 of a possible 6 points. You started the weekend off with, I don't want to say a sure thing, but when a team hasn't won all year, you're expecting to probably come away with 2 points. What happened Friday night at the Almond against Sarnia?
Yeah, as expected, I would say. I mean, we've talked about them a couple times here on the podcast when we've played them. Another big night for us offensively. Just a team that's overmatched most nights in our league this season. But I think I talked last time we played down there. We put up 10 on them and had over 60 shots, and talked about Irvin and having another 50-night save, and he did it again here Friday night. Right, he stopped 50 or 51, and we were just eligible to continue to score up and down our lineup, which for us it's never a bad night when you can score a bunch of goals and guys are feeling good about themselves. And so as expected, Friday night to get the win, get the 2 points. And we talked last week about how important points are in this division. So I think that's our last one with Sarnia, so we got through that. And I really didn't want to be the team that ended their streak for sure, with it being Friday the 13th. And I think lots of teams take them lightly, obviously, with their record, and they're good.
Waterloo just barely got by them there last week. So
like they work hard. I mean, and they got some good goaltending. So, but really, it was just a non-event Friday night. Again, 10 goals, which again is always good for the home side here on a Friday night. But and a skate Saturday and got ready for the big one last night in Elmira.
Yeah, that was a huge win. You guys came out flying. You had 44 shots to their 18, out shooting them. You had 22 shots in the first period alone. Tell us about that. A big 5-2 win in Elmira yesterday, being Sunday.
Yeah, really good. Bounce back for us after being there a couple weeks ago, and we lost 5-2. That night, I think I talked here as well. I thought we were really good that night, and I thought for 70% of that game we were the better team, and we just had some horrible breakdowns that ended up in the back of our net, some real defensive gaffes. So last night we were really good right from the start. Obviously came out and pressured them a ton to outshoot them that badly in the first period. Still only 1-0. But then we got 3 in a row in the second, and continued to have the train chugging in the right direction last night. And another good thing for me is we got some goal scoring from a couple D-man, and a couple of our top guys scored up front too. So it's always good when you can find a way to score against top teams in the league. Things are going well. One thing really good this weekend through last night and today was our penalty kill and shot blocking. We blocked a ton of shots. And guys are wearing their bruises today. After that, today, I mean, the game was filled with penalties, and there was a bunch of penalty kill, etc. But last night, really, really good. Greener had a real good fight. Today Haji got in a fight. So, we're in that playoff atmosphere here now, where teams don't like each other, and points are really big. So it was a really good battle, and another good crowd last night in Elmira, which we traditionally get. So it was just great to see our guys stick with it all night and get that retribution for that loss a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, speaking of Greener's fight, he fought Nolan Shaw, and man, he landed that one bomb. Like, Shaw got Greener's helmet off fairly quickly, and then Greener had to work a little to get Shaw's off. But when he did, they were spinning around, and then he caught Shaw. It looked like right on the left cheek with a solid right. But it was nice to see Shaw wasn't injured or anything. And it was just a good fight, respectable. They both went to the penalty box. And I thought that was really setting the tone for you guys, because obviously Elmira's frustrated. You got Liam Reed, who's just probably wondering, where the heck's the rest of my team here when he's facing 22 shots in the opening period. So great win for you guys.
That's really big stuff for us, right? To have that pushback and play with that edge. That's things that we have to do against teams when it gets here, because we have a lot of skill, but I would say earlier in the year, we've talked about on this podcast as well about we were getting pushed around a little bit or not having a bounce back. It was real good to see our guys been playing that way for the last couple of weeks as we're trying to tweak things and get ready here for March. And just really, really good stuff to see.
I think that's a good message to send to the rest of the league, because you just had a bad week. Chatham pumped you. Then you limit Elmira to under 20 shots. So I think that's a good message to send to the rest of the league saying, hey, we're not bad, just had a bad week.
Yeah, everybody has a bad night, right? And not taking anything away from Chatham. They came in and laid it on us when we weren't at our best. But, we were able to get by St. Mary's and then get by Elmira, within 7 days. So those are two huge wins in this division.
Like you brought it up there last weekend, Clarkie, about the importance of that win, where it was more important morally than the actual points were to you guys. And it's going to be interesting to look down the road just how important that win over St. Mary's last weekend was, because you guys have a totally different mindset now. You end up losing to, like Schenker said, you get pumped by Chatham, you lose to Waterloo in overtime, then you knock off one of the top two, if not the top team in the league, and then you go into Elmira and give it to them. So hats off to you guys. So you take that energy into Listowel today for the Family Day game. Tell us what happened there. You got Bender back in net. He stops 31 of 33. You outshoot Listowel 37-33. How did it go there in Listowel today?
Yeah, it was another good game. Those shots will tell you that it was back and forth, and lots of penalties, like I mentioned early. I'm not going to pick on the officials, but we all know I think how it goes when there's multiple power plays throughout the game, and we got 4 straight power plays from the 10-minute mark till the end of the game in the third period. So lots of shots both ways, lots of power play time for both teams. There was that one scrap early in the first period. Stratford and Listowel traditionally always play really tight games. It was a good crowd up there today. It was not only Family Day, but it was their teddy bear toss. So lots of kids enjoying the event there. And I just thought the game waved back and forth. I thought we had a really good start. Then we took back-to-back penalties in the first period. They had 2 penalty kills back-to-back, which we were able to kill off, but we didn't get one clear. We were in our end for 4 minutes straight. Them just clapping pucks, and Bender was really good today. The best I've seen him in a few weeks for sure. He was really, really solid and
nice.
And in saying that, Hursty as well, right? The two of them, probably since that St. Mary's game, have been really, really good here for us. So that's a great sign to see too.
Yeah, well, that's good. You guys are up 2-0 after 1. They get a goal to make it 3-1. Brown makes it 4-1 for you guys, and then they get one early in the third to make it 4-2. And
Brownie's goal was my favorite of the day today, and the reason why I say that is that they had possession of the puck for 1 or 2 seconds. It was a puck that was dumped in, and Haylock just come flying in on the forecheck and was able to turn the puck over, then retrieve the puck and get it out to Brownie, and Brownie just quick one-timer. Beat the goaltender. So just a really good, hard-working, gritty goal for that line, which is great to see them get rewarded when they're working that hard.
That's great that you guys keep this train going, and Elmira stumbles a little bit, Clarko. You guys could end up in third or higher, right? So now all of a sudden third's on your radars, where before we were talking about you guys are jockeying with London for 4th and 5th position. You guys have just totally turned things around on a dime after that St. Mary's win, taking all 6 of your points this weekend. And now it's a different conversation. That wouldn't be a bad thing ending up in third. So,
it's funny how it switches, right? Sitting here last Saturday night after losing that game in overtime to Waterloo and how we were feeling. And then we've just, within 9 days, we rifled off 9 out of 10 points. So it's just how quick it can change in this league. And so great on us for having a real good weekend, but doesn't get any easier coming here in the rest of the way. Yeah, we're within striking distance, right? We're 4 points out of third place right now. But London's continues to match us, or we match them with, whoever wins, the other team wins it as well. And we're done playing them. So depending on your schedule and the other teams, who they have left, we'll see what happens. But we're real happy with our group right now and how we're playing. And, we forget about that Chatham night a couple weeks ago and continue to play the way we're playing right now. We'll be ready for whatever spot we land in and whoever we draw.
Yeah, this coming weekend, you got 3 more big games. You have St. Thomas coming to Stratford on Friday night. You guys go to Waterloo on Sunday afternoon. And then we've got one of the hottest teams in the league, Strathroy Rockets, coming to town on a Monday night on that snow makeup game. So that's going to be interesting with them coming to town. You guys are going to have to keep your eyes on that line with Ritson, Gavin White, and LeBlanc. Those 3 guys are absolutely tearing it up in the league right now. So
all those 3 teams can get you, right? So we'll see. We'll have to be consistent and be doing all the little things right that we try and do each and every night and limit our mistakes. And 2 of the 3 of them are at home, and one is on Lake Ontario down there in Waterloo. So we'll see what happens as that game completely changes down there. We've been to overtime all 3 times we've played Waterloo this year. So they're our extra game. We get them 5 times. So we have them 2 more times here in the last little stretch. So once down there and once back here at the Almond. I think our last home game of the regular season is against Waterloo. So hopefully we can get a couple points off them in our next 2 matchups here. But, it's always a battle between Waterloo and Stratford as well. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. And they're very, very tough out. As you guys have talked about before, they've played St. Mary's really, really tight as well. They're a hardworking group. So we'll see what we can do, but we got to worry about Wednesday night practice and getting ready for that high-flying St. Thomas team that's going to roll in here Friday night.
Yeah, and Halser was saying that Miles Dunn's back with them. He's been sent back down from Sarnia, so that only helps St. Thomas and their scoring prowess.
Yeah, I saw he was dressed today.
Yeah. Halser actually was talking to his parents over in St. Mary's. The dad said that he enjoys listening to us on our podcast. So shout out to
nice.
Miles Dunn's parents. That's very kind of you to give us the compliment that you like listening to us. They heard Halser talking about Miles a couple weeks ago. We've been going on about Jake Ritson, and Halser brought up how Dunn was player of the week and has been lighting it up equally in St. Thomas. So shout out to him.
Yeah, great player. I hope to send him home Friday night with a loss, though.
Exactly. All right, brother. We better get to Chester. He's waiting in the wings. Thanks so much, as always, for taking a few moments to talk Warrior hockey with us. Director of Hockey Operations, Jason Clark.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. We'll be right back with Chris Chessel and Chester's Perch.
You can't put a price on a good time. Chester's Perch, the Lincoln's Report, brought to you by the Boathouse Stratford, located at 30 York Street. Come see us down at the Avon River for pedal boats, kayaks, canoes, Juliet boat tours, and bike rentals. Enjoy great food and ice cream at the Riverside Patio Restaurant. Pet friendly and operated by the Herr family since 1965.
Yes, guy. Chris Chessel from Milan, Italy.
Got lipic fever over here today, boys. And all week for that matter, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. How are you, brother?
Good. How's everybody?
Good.
Getting our fill of sports these days or what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's other than October's the best time of the year because you got all 4 major sports going at one time. But this is good too. The Olympics are a nice little buffer now that football's over, and we get spoiled with best on best with that. And then Halser's Schenker got us all excited about baseball. So yeah, things are good.
Yeah, I heard that. It was good stuff, especially like the Santander stuff. That that
Oh,
one there is definitely driving me crazy. So I'm glad you brought that up, Halser.
yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, the week didn't start off the way the Lynx wanted it to. You guys go down to London last Wednesday night. You lose 6-5 in a close one. You outshoot them 33-31. Booth Houseco stops 25 of 31, and winning goalie Bertolin stops 28 of 33. What happened there? They get the first goal, and it was I heard another refereeing clinic being put on there. What did you think of that, Chester?
Well, it's the GOHL, right? Not only are the players, it's a developmental league for the players, it's also a developmental league for the referees. And unfortunately, we do see that a lot of nights, but I'm not going to try to talk about that too much. But I will say it was a special teams nightmare for the Lincolns on a Wednesday night is what it was. The Lynx were 0 for 7, I believe. 0 for 6 on the power play on Wednesday night in London, and London was 3 for 7. You look at stretches of that game where we actually had a pretty strong first period. We outshot them 14-8. Come in the second period, we took 4 penalties in a row, right? Really borderline penalty stuff, trips, hooks, et cetera, things that are a dime a dozen in most junior B hockey games.
Yeah.
You take 4 in a row, you give up a couple power play goals. London, gets up by a goal. By the time the end of the second period was over, it was 4-3, right? And it was just back and forth. It was great to see the offense, though. I thought, we were scoring pretty much when we needed to, and we just had a hard time keeping out of our net. Combination of some sloppy play in our zone, and there's probably a couple that Kobe would like back as well. But that's the nature of the beast, right, guys? So all in all, I thought it was a good battle. London's like we talked about a few weeks ago. London's a different team than they were 4 or 5 months ago, right? They're a lot more skilled, a lot quicker than they were, and they're gonna cause teams fits here down the run, into the playoffs as well. So no shame in that loss at all, except it was unfortunately our 3rd in a row, which you start asking a lot of questions and second guessing a lot of decisions once you start losing games like that. But all in all, good offensive game. A couple guys got back on the scoreboard. Oliver Lacco was back. He got 2 helpers. Good to see him back on the ice. He's made a difference already. Really noticed him a bit on this weekend as well. And then congrats to Mr. Jacob Drobny for getting his first junior goal in London Wednesday night as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Lincoln Moore had a couple big goals for us. As he's done so many times this year when maybe the scoring seems to dry up from a few other guys. Lincoln's been able to bury a few and keep us in some games, right? So all in all, you hate to lose that game. I don't know if you guys saw the game-winning goal. Colby kind of got run over as the puck was going in. There was a lot of dispute about goalie interference, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, there's no replay in this league, so the refs had to make a decision, and they decided to go with the home team on that one. And it is what it is, and you know what? You shake that off, and I think the boys did a good job of actually doing that. They did shake it off, and they responded the rest of the weekend for sure.
London's a way better home team than road team, right? Because of that ice there. So if you can get them,
yeah, go ahead.
You got to get them on the road.
You do, yeah. They're built now to play in that arena, where for the last 3 or 4 seasons they probably weren't, right? And we used to go into London and beat them all the time. How many times in the playoffs have we beaten them the last 3 years, Halser? I think every big playoff victory we've had in the last 3 years has happened on that ice. But they're built to play on that ice now. It's that simple. And you're seeing the change in that team. And like I said, they're going to cause fits for whoever they get first round. There's no doubt about it.
St. Mary's beat them a couple of weeks ago at home, but they were missing 4 regulars. They were missing Pomerleau and Campo and 2 of their better defensemen who were at the McPherson. So this is, and they didn't blow them out by any stretch. I think it was 4-1 or 4-1 with an empty net or something like that. So it was a reasonably close game, but they just couldn't score because their big guns were out. But when they're fully loaded and they're at home with room to wheel and deal like that, they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs.
You guys end up losing in London, but then Friday night you had Elmira come to town, and Halser's texting saying it's a candidate for game of the year. You outshoot them 39-38. Looks like Booth Houseco redeemed himself, stopping 36 of 38, and then Liam Reed took the loss, stopping 35 of 38. Take us through how it all went down at the PRC on Friday, Chester.
Well, we got back to our old selves. I think during this losing streak, we had some uncharacteristic first periods where we had during that 16-game winning streak, we had 16 fantastic first periods, I think, or close to it, right? Give or take. But we got right back to that, I thought, at home Friday night against Elmira. We came out flying, really good on the forecheck, causing lots of turnovers and chaos in their zone. It was good to have a good start on that game. After losing 3 in a row, back on home ice, you got people in the crowd starting to look cross-eyed at you and everything else, and you got to come out and show everybody that we're okay. It's nothing to panic about, and I thought they did a really good job of doing that, right? And Elmira is a super good hockey team. My gosh, They can run 3 lines at you. You got guys like Gerber and Morey and Cornfield and Ratcliffe. These guys can score.
Yeah.
With anybody in this league, and they have a good goaltender.
Good goaltending.
A few spots, I think you can get them a little bit on the back end if you're lucky. Which I thought we exposed a bit at points in that game. But there was points in that game where Elmira owned us too. Like they would get us hemmed into our zone, and we had trouble getting out. But they're a skilled team as well. So yeah, like Halder said, it was definitely one of the best games you'll see all year. 2 heavyweights going at it, and I thought it was a great game as well. We had Keane get back in the lineup as well Friday night, and I thought that made a huge difference. He just brought his size and calmness to the back end there, and definitely different. So I think if you throw him in the lineup Wednesday in London, I think you maybe see a different result too, right? But he just brings that to the game some nights, and I thought that made a big difference. And yeah, like you said, Kobe was solid, really good. Yeah, and Liam Reed was solid as well. So really just a great game between 2 really good hockey teams.
You were at the wrong end, Chester. All the goals were scored down in Halser's end.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's okay sometimes.
Yeah, I was looking at the 519 highlights, and like you said, both Booth Houseco and Reed were matching each other save for save. And you guys go up 2-0 after 1. Then they come back and make it 2-2. They scored late in the second. Ratcliffe used the D as the screen. And people, I know I go on and on about it, but that is such an effective move when you use that D as a screen and just let it rip, and he beat Booth Houseco a foot off the ice stick side. There's no way he's going to save it because it's below his blocker and above his right pad. So that was just a great goal by Ratcliffe to tie it up. And then tell us what happened in the third. It was a ping pong ball going off of people.
Well, they always say it's never a bad idea to shoot the puck, right? And that game was getting deep. It was getting deep. We were already talking overtime up where I was standing. And we got the puck in with about a minute to go. We had a good forecheck, caused a turnover, got back to Luke McMillan on the point. I don't know, Luke, if he had something else in mind. I don't know if he was looking for a guy to tip that, or if he had a guy in the slot that he was hoping was going to redirect that. But he threw a flop around net, and it flopped. And I don't know if it hit anything in front of where you were standing, Halser, but I couldn't see from where I was, and I tried to see it on the replay. On 519, I couldn't really tell who it hit, but it had to hit.
I had a perfect angle on it, and it was a double doinker. It hit a defenseman's knee and went toward the slot, and you could see Reed vacate the post to follow the bounce. Then it went off the ass of some other defenseman sitting in front and went just inside the near post. And I was on an absolutely perfect angle looking down the line, and I could see that he being Reed was still kind of sliding over to the far side, and then the puck changed direction again, and he looked like he was trying to dog paddle because he just tried, and it just went over the it was the greasiest, ugliest goal I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And and it goes in with 15 seconds left of a 2-2 tie in what was probably the best game played there at that rink all season. So what a weird finish. We were all looking forward to some 3-on-3 because it was amazing. St. Mary's came out and was St. Mary's for the first period. They came out flying. And you talk, Chess, about a team that's built for its rink. Those end zones are deeper because of the little tiny center ice. And so it's harder to get the puck out. So they've built a forechecking team, and they spent a big portion of time in Elmira's end in the first period. And then in the second period, the sign, as I've often said, of a really good team is measuring, pushing back after getting owned after a period. And Elmira came out flying. And that Gerber kid was the best player on the ice every time he was on the ice. Everything. And he was getting in Hodkinson's face. He was roughing it up. He was mucking it up in the corner. He was winning puck battles, and he can skate like the wind. And he looks like he's going to score every time he has the puck in the other team's end. So 2-2 after 2 seemed fair to me. Each team owned a period. And then the double doinker, the referees put the whistles away, I think, recognizing how good of a game it was. I thought it was probably the best officiated game, and not because they didn't call penalties, but they recognized how good of a game they had, and they let the players decide it. And I we're hard on the refs sometimes, but I got to give kudos to where they belong. It's hard to put the whistle in your pocket at this level without kids going crazy, but that was two teams that were clearly looking at winning a hockey game, not taking advantage of the situation. So good on them.
The goal that impressed me was that first one, that pass from Elzinga over the Weir.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Man,
tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, that was the three-way passing play. That was a great play.
Yeah.
Well, and that's good coaching too on Bradley, because he switched the lines up significantly. Like, it's been Reddy, Elzinga, and Hodkinson, and he replaced Reddy with Ethan Weir and gave them a little more finish on that line. And of course, if you ever watch that team, Elzinga or Hodkinson, one of those two have the puck for most of any given shift anyway. So what do you need? You need a guy who's a finisher, and that's what Weir is. I like Reddy's game, but Weir is one of the better finishers on the team. I thought that was a great decision to move those lines around. And he also put Lacko. He gave Lacko Vortman and McQueen Spence. And Lacko is a 200-foot player with two offensive guys, and they gelled really well as well. So kudos to the coaching staff for making some changes in the lineups to get them rolling again.
Yeah. Well, anybody that's seen Jeff Bradley coach the last 5 years knows that it's a Rubik's Cube of lineups from 1 minute to the next, which is very entertaining in itself. It's funny you brought up the refs, Halser, because it was one of the same refs that refed in London on Wednesday night, did our game Friday night, and totally different. Yeah, totally different attitude, right? Yeah. Like, it's just, I think that's what
in St. Mary's.
I think that's what bothers people is the inconsistency.
Two refs in that game that aren't really highly thought of as a rule, right. But
yeah,
kudos to them, man. They let the players decide the game, and good on them. Yeah, so refreshing.
Yeah, it was good. It was definitely good.
So you guys end up winning Friday night, and then you have St. Thomas come into town today, and you take them down 5-3, outshooting them 40-28 overall. Booth Houseco plays again, stopping 25 of 28. And then for St. Thomas, they started Durno, who stopped 10 of 14, and then thought, all right, we got to do something here. We're down 4-0. So then they put Camputero in, that stopped 25 of 26. So kind of take us through, were people head scratching that they didn't start Camputero right off the hop? Or
I definitely wasn't expecting to see Journo in that tonight. Camputero stoned us last time we were down there. It was over early, right? Like, we came out flying again, another really, really good first period. It looked like we were on the power play the whole period. We had so much puck possession, and everything any quality stuff we put towards the net was basically going in. And it's not always the goalie's fault either. There was tons of our forecheck was unreal. But, they got down 4 really fairly quickly. And I think there was 6 minutes left in the period. And they bought Camputero in. And then we tried and solved him for a period and a half until we did, right? But it could have been a totally different game if maybe they started him. And for a team that's fighting for that last playoff spot, I thought it was a questionable decision for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys get up 4-0. Colebrook, McCauley, Reddy, and McMillan. And then St. Thomas comes back a minute into the second. Edmondson scores, and then Pettipiece at 16:30 to make it 4-2. And then Elzinga makes it 5-2, and then Pettipiece scores for St. Thomas to make it 5-3. You guys are starting to get healthy again. You got Laco back, Keen's back. It looks like you guys are right in the ship. You know, you take down Elmira and now St. Thomas, and you guys seem to be like Stratford. You know, you were in a bit of a funk, and now it seems like you've started to head in the direction that you're expected to. So good on you guys. But
And McGregor, hopefully he's back real soon here as well. And then we have everybody on deck. So, you know, I think like you said, Razor, you know, I think this weekend was huge for us. We had to turn the corner. You lose 3 in a row, you got to figure it out. And Elmira was a perfect game for that. It was such a good game. You know, and we got to take care of business this week. I think we got, I think it's Sarnia down there on Thursday night.
yeah, you go to Sarnia Thursday, which
then
should be 2
Strathroy.
points. And then
Well,
you
I
got
hope.
red hot Strathroy Rockets coming back. And you've heard us talk about Gavin White, LeBlanc, and Ritson, arguably the hottest line in the GOHL. Like those three are just lighting it up. So you guys got them Friday night, and then Stratford's got them Monday night. So that's going to be really interesting seeing those guys. And they've climbed into 8th spot. They've leaped over St. Thomas with their red hot streak. So yeah, you guys have now climbed back to 2nd spot. Chatham's in 1st. They've played one more game than you guys. They've got 67 points, playing 44 games. You guys are in 2nd with 43 games played, 66 points. And then you go down to Elmira, Stratford. We were talking, I don't know if you heard us, Chester. If Elmira keeps stumbling, Stratford now has them on their radar. They're only 4 points behind Elmira now. So things are really changing. And Clarkey had a great point. Yeah. Like 9 days ago, you know, it was a totally different mood around the Allman Arena. And then they get on a run, knocking off Elmira and today Listowel. Now they seem to be walking with a little bit of jump in their step, and you just never know. And then St. Thomas is 2 points out of the final playoff spot, playing the same number of games as Strathroy. Both have played 43. Strathroy has 45 points and St. Thomas has 43. So your son doesn't think the Rockets are going to make the playoffs, but I don't know.
There's a lot to be figured out here. I mean,
there is, and they're getting good goaltending.
I think you did the stats or the standings earlier with Clarkey, but it's actually 61 and 61 for London and Stratford. So they're both over the 60-point mark now.
Are they? Okay.
Update, yeah.
Okay. So they hadn't updated them before I came on the air. So,
yeah. So you got 5 teams now over 6, like within 5 points. So that top 5 is going to flip flop like crazy. And the most entertaining part of that is who are they going to play? That bottom 4 is the same way. So
yeah,
it's going to be it's going to be fabulous to watch for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is really entertaining. Over in the East, there's not as much drama going on. Down at the bottom, I think there's a couple of uncertainties still yet to be decided, but the top is all pretty much decided, and it looks like the seedings, but.
Now, add to that, the last game for the Lincolns this year is home to Elmira.
Yeah.
That could be a real big game.
That could be,
yeah.
Might be literally for the division.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, Chester. Well, we look forward to hearing how you guys make out against Sarnia and Strathroy. And as always, appreciate you coming on and spending a few moments talking Lincoln's hockey with us. So.
All right, boys.
Go and enjoy those
rest of your week.
Yes. Go and enjoy those Olympics, and look forward to seeing you next Monday, my friend.
All right, boys. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Chris Chessel from Chester's Pert.
Brett's Roundup, sponsored by Deal Sports Group, specializing in custom teamwear, uniforms, and apparel such as hockey, baseball, soccer, volleyball, basketball, and more. Our online stores are used mainly as a fundraising platform. We create custom designs for clothing and hard goods. They're purchased through the DSG website and shipped to the team organizer. A 20% kickback is given to the association or individual team. We also sell promotional corporate apparel and hard goods and offer many different decoration options that include embroidery, DTF prints, sublimation, twill, leather patched, and a lot more.
How are you, brother?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Feeling a little better this week now that you guys have righted the ship, getting 4 or 6 points?
Yeah, definitely feeling a little better, but still a little sour from Wednesday night, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like that you guys were killing a lot of penalties and not scoring on your chances. So
No, I don't know. We need to stay out of the box, but there was a lot of questionable calls. That 6th goal for London should never counted. It's BS in my opinion. So whatever. What can you do about it?
it is what it is.
But I heard actually a funny story on that Facebook page. A fan got thrown out in Pelham, which I've never heard about in the GOHL.
Yeah, I think I read that on the GOHL Fans and News. So that's got to be a first in a long,
and I will
long
bring
time.
up one more point to that. On the public notes of the Cambridge and Brantford game today, let me read this here. The referees will be filing an incident report for fans behind the Brantford bench for spitting on and trying to grab the Brantford players in the later half of the 3rd period.
Wow, where's security at those games?
Yeah, especially when you have 1,052 fans in Cambridge.
Yeah, that's a big turnout. Well, with it being family day, but still, that's a good turnout. So
Yeah, Elmira had 1,800.
1,800.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they were sold out, I think.
Yeah.
So,
That's
good on them.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good
It's great to
stuff.
see for the league, that's for sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Strathroy Rockets that have now crept into 8th spot in the standings. They take down the Waterloo Siskins 3-1. They outshoot the Siskins 33-26. Looks like Seth Ronan and the Ritson line are just humming along. Seth Ronan's their goalie. He stopped 32 of 33. He was a 9th round pick of the London Knights in 2024, played in that St. Andrews tournament there a couple of weeks ago, and the McDavid top prospects game. So he looks like he's single-handedly making the saves that he needs to help get Strathroy into it. But also, the West Performer of the Week, shout out to Quinn Gavin White. He was the West Performer of the Week. In 2 games, he had 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points, and all 3 of his goals were on the power play. So he's a 3rd-year forward from London, and he's got 37 points in 25 games since becoming a Rocket. They traded to get him from Kamoka. So what do you think? Are you still thinking Strathroy is going to be the odd team out, or what do you think?
I'm starting to, rethink that, but Strathroy, they really only have 2 lines that can really work at best. They're still a really good team. If Ritson, LeBlanc and Gavin White aren't clicking, then they don't really do well. There was a game in St. Mary's where they didn't do very well. We beat them 10-2. So, it kind of varies from night to night, but it seems like every time they play, they're always humming along and firing on all cylinders, and that's going to cause teams fits in the playoffs. And who knows? We could get a St. Mary's Strathroy first round again.
You could.
We've had plenty of playoff series against Strathroy, that's for sure.
Yeah, you guys, well, it's all up in the air. Like it's changing from game to game at the top and at the bottom. And so it's going to be interesting. But the Rockets come to St. Mary's on Friday night, and then they come to Stratford on Monday night. So that's going to be entertaining to see how that all goes down. Just quickly going through the box score, Strathroy captain William Hull opened up the scoring against Waterloo. It was assists to LeBlanc and Gavin White. LeBlanc's got 33 assists. Gavin White's got 34. And then they went up 2-0. LeBlanc got his 29th of the year on the power play from, shockingly, Gavin White and Ritson. Ritson's got 43 helpers this year. And then they went up 3-0 in the third. And LaPrise and LeBlanc assisting on Gavin White's power play goal. And then I don't know if you heard our podcast talking about Caden Oliver last week when Waterloo was in Stratford or not.
I
Right?
didn't listen to that. No.
He ended up, he scored 2 goals on Gage Hurst and taunted Hurst afterwards.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, you should go look at the 519 reviews. He, on his first goal, he really lays it into Hurst.
Right.
The second one wasn't as much, but he ended up getting the only goal for the Siskins. And I did some research on Oliver, and he was drafted by the Kingston Frontenacs in the 9th round in 2024. Started the year with Trenton in the OJ, and only played 11 games with them. He had 5 points in 11 games, and then he came back to the Siskins because this kid's starting to light it up, and people better start focusing on Caden Oliver because he's starting to find the net. And his first goal that he scored against Stratford was a shooter's goal. He had barely the size of a puck to get it over Hurst's left shoulder, and he nailed it. And this guy's just playing lights out. But I don't know if you've noticed him at all, Rhett, when he's been in St. Mary's.
I've definitely noticed him. Not so much this year. I don't think he's done much. But I remember last year when they broke the 18-game winning streak, he waved to the Lincoln's bench after they won, and then after we beat them in Game 5, I think we got the last laugh with them. But I definitely think St. Mary's and Waterloo, I would say more potential than maybe Strathroy or St. Thomas, but it'll be interesting. Yeah, Kane Oliver is a great hockey player, but he's also kind of cocky in my opinion.
Oh, he's very cocky.
He's
very cocky. Halser, what do you think of Caden Oliver?
Well, his older brother was the captain last year, and fairness, Rhett, he may have been the guy waving to the St. Mary's bench and at the end of that game. Like a lot of guys at this level, they finish well. Now, he shouldn't get too cocky because if I recall, Waterloo hasn't scored the last 2 times they played St. Mary's. So I wouldn't expect him to do a whole lot of chattering, seeing as they haven't scored in about 150 minutes against the Lincolns. So I can't remember if they got another game or not. But to finish the thought on Strathroy, the problem for them is their schedule. They've got St. Mary's, they've got Stratford twice, I believe, and they also have Chatham. So
that's tough.
They're in a position, but we talked about it earlier, Rhett, when your dad was on. It is unfathomable to me that you're 2 points, out of a playoff spot. You're facing one of the toughest teams to beat in the league at home, and you've got a stud goaltender back from junior A, and you don't use him. And now I understand that he played the last game and he played pretty well. One of the things that I had spoken to Miles Dunn's dad about, the fact that he said, the kid played well last time he played, so maybe coach went on a gut feeling or something like that. But that was, that was a 2-1 hockey game.
Yeah.
After Camputero came into the net, and that's 2.5. In 12 minutes, it was 4-0. After that, for the last 2.5 periods, it was 2-1 for St. Thomas. So I know St. Thomas has a weaker schedule, and they can go on a run and get some wins. They're still just as fast. It's just they and I had the same problem today. We both thought the game started at 2:00. I got there late thinking the game started at 2, and apparently St. Thomas thought the same thing, because by the time it was 2:00, it was 4-0 St. Mary's.
Yeah, Camputero's going to cause fits if St. Thomas get in. Like, I would say he's probably top 10 goalie in this league.
Maybe top 5.
For sure.
Top 5 even.
I was going to say higher than 10. Yeah.
He's on a weaker team, but imagine if he was on St. Mary's, Chatham, and Elmira, Cambridge. Like, his numbers would be insane. And
that supports what everybody's been talking about, the bottom half of this division. They may not have the rosters that the top 4 and 5 have, but look at the goaltenders. Winbill from LaSalle and Grain from Waterloo and Camputero from St. Thomas. There's 3 stud goaltenders that you're going to end up running into in the first round. And that's not even including everybody at the bottom. So, I mean, this just makes it so interesting. The fact that, yeah, you're going to get if you finish top 3, you get to avoid playing one of those top 5 teams, but there's not much of a consolation prize when the teams that are waiting for you when you get there.
Don't forget Seth Ronan, Halser, like he's lighting it up with Strathroy. Now he's going to have to, you brought up great points. Their schedule is probably the hardest to finish the season off. But if Ronan can steal some games from them, look out. Like Strathroy with their firepower. Now, I know that once you stop that first line of Strathroy, then it gets significantly easier. But my God, nobody seems to be able to stop those 3 guys right now. And if you're getting saves from Ronan, making the ones that he should and a few that he has no business, look out for the Rockets, man.
Well, and it's interesting that Gavin White's doing what he's doing because, I mean, he's a former Lincoln. We saw him for about 20 games, and he had about 10 or 11 points. He's a small kid. He just didn't seem to fit in St. Mary's. So I'm happy that he's found a spot where he's succeeding because he got traded to St. Mary's from St. Thomas, if I remember correctly, and then to Kamoka. So he really, he really hasn't got it figured out until now, and good on the kid. It took a couple of years for him to settle in, but he's having a great season.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to 2 former Lincolns, Kyle Murray and Ryan Cornfield. It was good to see them back in the PRC Friday night, but Kyle Murray is just an unstoppable player. He hasn't changed since the last time I saw him live in Elmira, and Ryan Cornfield, who's just, another glue guy for Elmira, and another guy who's going to be beneficial for Elmira in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're looking forward to these last couple of weeks of the regular season and then getting things going there early in March. So,
yeah, Razor, I just got a question for you.
Yeah.
I've seen that Stratford's goaltending has gotten a little wonky. Who is the starter right now, Hurst or Bender? Because Hurst has been playing some of the better teams lately.
Good question. They ended up starting Hurst against you guys with the Lincolns, and he played well there. Mm-hmm. And we all saw what Noah Bender can do earlier in the season, and then he had a couple of rough games against you guys. He got pulled, and I haven't talked to Dave Williams since that Sunday win over you guys at the Almond. But my guess is that they're just trying to give him a break to reset. And fortunately, Gage Hurst is playing well against you guys, against Elmira. So, yeah, I don't know firsthand what the thought process is, but my gut is telling me that he's just trying to get Bender to reset and be mentally ready so that either one of them, let's face it, in the playoffs, you're going with the hot guy, whether it's Hurst or Bender.
Bender played today, right?
He played today in Listowel, and according to Clark, he played well.
4-2.
And so that's positive because that is a lonely position. When everything's going well, it's like a pitch. When the going's good, you got friends galore. But when the going's bad, take a look around and see who's standing by you. And I got all the faith in Noah Bender, but it's great that a rookie goalie, Gage Hurst, is able to pick up the pace when called upon. So
I think you'll see them flip-flop every game just to give everybody a rest and keep them fresh, right? But personally, I think Bender's their number one.
That would be my gut, but like I said, they're going to run with who's ever hot in the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
You get into a short series and friendship goes out the door. It's all about putting the team first, right? But I agree with you, Shank. I would see Bender as maintaining the number one, but it's great to have Hurst to be able to play solid when called upon as well.
You can't top out Buthausko, Calhoun, and Barr, though. We have the best goalie tandem in the entire league. You can't.
I'm
You guys-
surprised Calhoun didn't
Otherwise.
start today.
Yeah, I would have
Yeah,
thought that he would have played one of them, but
Yeah.
I have my
Yeah.
opinion on that, but
the
you
only
know what?
thing
I trust Coach Bradley. He's probably top 2 coaches in this league. I think probably the best coach. in
he's
this
right
league.
up there.
He's right up there. I trust him. So he's a great guy, and I trust what he's gonna do. But when it comes to playoff time, it'll be Booth House go game 1, I'm sure. But I think they'll rotate playoffs. I would assume.
If I were you guys, I'd ride a horse. I'd ride one guy. Like you guys did well last year, alternating. You guys had a 1A, 1B. I think Calhoun's really, really good. I would give the edge to Booth Housego watching him last year, the way that he handled all that pressure at the biggest moments. And I just think that, yeah, you're right. You guys have a great luxury where you've got 3 capable goalies all being able to play. So it's something that a lot of teams would love to have that problem, right?
Oh, I know. Yeah, for sure.
All right, my friend. We won't keep you, but yeah, look forward to talking with you next week. So
Exactly.
all right, we better let you go. We got Dave Graff waiting in the wings. Thanks again, as always, Rhett.
Yep. Go Dodgers. Go Lynx.
Okay.
No
Rhett
comment.
Chessel from Rhett's Roundup. We'll hear from our sponsors at work, and we'll be right back with Dave Graff.
Chew on that with Graffer. Brought to you by Work Pub and Eatery. Get a taste of tradition and charm in our family-run pub. From hearty dishes to cold drinks, we've got everything to make your visit memorable. Located at 75 Wellington Street, Stratford.
Yes, guy. Dave
How's it going
Graff
tonight?
is in the house, back from his Costa Rica trip.
Yep. Back for a week now. Yep. Taking it easy.
Nice. Well, at
Recovery.
least you didn't come back to minus 26 weather like Clarkey and Schenker did when they were down south.
Well,
So,
it's funny though. We came back. It was a 50-degree swing. We left there. It was 32, and it was minus 18 when we got back. So not as
Oh,
bad
it was
as-
still that cold. Okay,
not as
yeah.
bad. Not as cold as when
Right.
those guys got back, but pretty near. Yeah, it was the car. We were in tails as pilot. It just kind of barely turned over. Just kind of, oh, here we go. It's like 1:30 in the morning, so we want to get out of there. But anyways, no, it's all good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, I like Reds, Go Lincolns, and Dodgers only until they play the Warriors and the Blue Jays.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
just up until that point. How's that?
Exactly.
Little-
I like you
little-
rocking the Whalers hat. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
little nostalgia. The old
Pulled
Whalers.
that out of the old nostalgia bin.
Yep, it was at the bottom of the toque cupboard. So, yeah.
All right, so you told us about this miracle, The Boys of 80 on Netflix, talking about Herb Brooks and the 1980 men's U.S. Olympic team winning gold in Lake Placid. Great movie. Watched it the other night.
Nice.
And walk us through what impressed you about the movie, Graffer.
Well, I wanted to talk about it really even before the documentary came out, because there's obviously the great movie they did over 20 years ago now, that when Kurt Russell played Herb Brooks, and it's being Olympic time. Obviously, we're Canadian, and I hope the U.S. lose every game, but
Right.
still have a soft spot for 46 years ago. And we've talked about before, like Halls and I both said, we remember where we were when that game happened. And, because Canada, they lost to Finland in the round robin of that 1980, which is why they weren't in the medal round. That's why Finland was there.
Right.
And, so the next best back then for us was to cheer for the Star Spangled Banner next door, right? And especially with what they had going on. And that's kind of the angle I wanted to take. What I wanted to really focus on with that was just the whole process that team took. And that's why I got a picture of Herb Brooks there. Never had success in the NHL, very limited success with the Rangers and the Penguins. Had a real good success winning the NCAAs with the Gophers, with Minnesota in the 70s, leading up to the U.S. Olympic team. But what I wanted to focus on and the chew on that part of it for you guys as well as people listening is, show me another team that was, I guess there's not a lot of teams put together in similar fashion along the same timelines, but show me another team that a coach had a vision, had a process in mind, and they talked about it a lot in the documentary, on what he needed to do to beat the Russians. And the whole thing was the process and the systems was the main two things. And the first thing he did, and when he went to Colorado Springs in May or June of 79, he was the third choice. Like Jack Parker, the legendary Boston University coach, had turned down the job. And I think it was Lou Viro, or what, I can't pronounce it. It was another one of those college coaches that turned down the job. And like they say in the movie 20 some odd years ago, Herb was the third choice to coach that team. But before he went for those interviews, he had the vision. And they show it in the movie from years ago where he tells them, guys, individual talent's great, but if that individual talent doesn't play as a team, and doesn't play within a system, that Russian team's going to beat you all day. And that's what they were doing to the U.S. All-Stars at the time. And Herb's point being that he wanted not get together in November of 79. We got to get together in July of 79. We got to have these kids not coming from all different college team systems in November. I got to get them in July.
Right.
And I got to get them playing a hybrid Russian-Canadian style. Not the dump and chase and bang, bang, bang anymore, but a combination of that toughness kind of game, but the Russian puck movement and weaving and carrying the puck over the blue line, taking it in possession and not always dumping and chasing, right? And that's what he did. In theory, that's what he did by starting in July of, he went to the tryout camp and had his team in mind, and that's the guys you see kind of behind me there celebrating after the Russian win. And he basically cut some really good hockey players to keep what he thought were the guys he needed to play the system that he had in mind. And, compare it to one game. And again, I'll go back to the Buffalo Bills and Halls, you'll remember this one very well, the 91 Super Bowl against the Giants. Bill Parcells, all he did to slow down the K-gun was keep it off the field. He knew he had to go in there and get 3 or 4 yards of play with Otis Anderson and short passes and keep Buffalo off the field. And he kept them off the field for 42 minutes. And yeah, Norwood missed wide right. That was the ultimate reason they lost. But the main reason they lost was they never got the football, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Herb did with this mentality on how to play the work for 7-8 months leading up to the Olympics. One game, right? And he says it in the movie and the doc. One game. Might beat us 9 out of 10, 19 out of 20. Not tonight. One game, right? That's what his whole thought process was, right? And, he and his treatment of the players was such that he told them right up front, not going to be your friend. If you want a friend, go see Doc, whoever, or go see assistant coach Patrick.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm going to be your coach. And, Craig Patrick. And he felt he couldn't get close to them because it would be detrimental to what he was trying to build. And it turns out he was right. And, there was a lot of Minnesota and Boston boys he had to blend together.
Yeah,
And,
4 of each. I was surprised. I didn't realize that there was 4 Gophers and 4 Terriers on the team.
And some BC guys. And, you had the outliers like Morrow was at Bowling Green and I think Wells was at Bowling Green. There's a few guys at other schools, right?
And he sat Janisic. I didn't realize that the backup goalie was a star goalie at Minnesota.
He just won the national championship.
Just won the
2 months
Natty.
earlier.
Oh, and by the way, Janny, you're going to sit on the bench while this kid Jim Craig is going to play because I think he's better than you. Like, that was hard.
And did you see Janny in the doc? He said, yeah, I hated it, but what choice did I have? I had to be a team guy, and he was a team guy, right? So, but you know what he felt was they were so busy not liking him that they all got along so well together because the common denominator they had was not liking him, was ganging up on him as far as, they liked him as a coach, but not necessarily the way he treated them.
Right.
He knew
he was ruthless.
Right? Ruthless. Yeah. Well, the skating game in Norway when they got caught.
They tied him.
Got caught looking at the chicks in the stands or whatever and tied Norway. Those guys on the dock said it was a true story.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even Hollywood in the movie from some years ago. That was a true story where he again and skated them for.
They shut the lights off. The Zamboni driver shut the lights off in the arena to get them out because he wouldn't let them off the ice.
But you know what? He was just that guy. Like and they said, and think too, give me the key, I'll lock up. Like he didn't care. Like he knew he had to, and they go out and win the next day against the same team, 8 or 9-0, right? So shows them the message got through. Now, the other side of him was, and there's a couple examples here, Jim Craig. We all know about Jim Craig's story. His mom had just passed of cancer. His dad just got laid off. Well, no one knew, but behind the scenes, Herb Mundy had arranged for Craig's old man to get a bit of a front with some cash, right? So he could, right? Because Jim thought he should take the Land of Flame signing bonus and run off to the show, right?
Right.
And he had promised his mom he'd play for the Olympic team. So he went through with that. And the other one is when they beat Finland in the final, somebody said to him, what was the first thing you thought of when you knew the gold medal? Because, of course, we all know the Russian game was only the first game of the medal round. They still had to beat Finland.
Right.
In fact, there was a crazy scenario there where they could have ended up fourth, or maybe best case with the bronze if they had lost to Finland by enough goals, right?
Right.
So even beating the Russians. So anyways, they said to him, what was first thing you thought of when you had the gold secured? You know what he said? I thought of Ralph Cox, the last guy he cut. He goes, I felt empathy. I felt so bad for Ralph Cox because he was that guy in 60 in Squaw Valley.
1960, yeah. He was the last cut.
Yeah.
There was two brothers that couldn't make the tryouts due to business or something.
Yeah,
and
the
these
second brother came or something.
Yeah,
Something
these
like
two
that.
brothers came and they had to make room for them on the team, or the coach wanted to, and Brooks was the last cut in 1960.
A week before, just like he had to do to Cox, right? Like, and it killed him to have to do it, but the rules are the rules. He could only take 20 skaters or whatever it was at the time, right? So, and the rest we've all saw. And they go into the Russian game. He had his famous pregame speech. They went out. They adapted in that game because he said early they were trying to carry pucks out, and the Russian D were just hammering down the boards and keeping everything. So what he started doing was, when they got possession in the corner, the wingers would bail and head out towards the neutral zone, which meant the Russian D had to back off, and that gave them space to come out. So he was a super in-game, obviously an in-game adapter, in-game adjustments per se. He was excellent at that as well. And, yes, we all know they got outshot badly. Jimmy Craig stood in his head, and they pulled Tretiak and put Mission.
That was surprising. I had almost forgot about them pulling Tretiak.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Because Johnson had scored the tying goal there at the end of the period, and Tikhonov, I guess, just lost his mind over that.
Yeah.
And
but how do you blame that on Tretiak? Why is it one of the guys?
Yeah.
Why is it one of the guys putting a shoulder in him in the slot area, right? But anyways,
exactly.
I would not have. That was a knee jerk, obviously, by Tikhonov back in the day. Anyways, the one line he did say, and it's the only time these guys heard him swear, and I think you guys probably heard it in the doc if you watched it. Come into the room before the Finland game, he said one thing. And he also said before that he talked to Patrick, and Patrick gave him the heads up outside, and he says, Herb, they're done listening to us. They're having their chat in there. They're taking care of things. Your Ruzioni and your leaders are, they were all captains from their teams, but your Ruzioni and the leaders were taking care of things. And he just went in and said, fellas, if you don't win this one, you'll take it to your fucking grave. And he walked out.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he said. And of course they fell behind again, like they did every game but one. They fell behind and had to score 3 in the third to win 4-2. And, and the other thing with that, when they won the gold, and they kind of touched on it through the movie from years ago and a little bit in the documentary, Jimmy Carter was president at the time. And at the one point, they have his kind of state of the address coming on around Christmas time going into 1980. And the one thing he said was, the next 5 years might be worse than the last 5. And 75 or 76 to 80 were not great years in the U.S. with everything that was going on. Unemployment at an all-time high, the disaster in Niagara Falls, their chemical spill, and
no gas. They had lineups for gas.
Yeah, no fuel. I mean, and for this to happen, they said like the magnitude of it that brought the people together in the United States is just because this is before NHL players, as we all know.
Yeah.
And there's been 5 Olympics now with NHL players, and Canada, we have won 3 of the 5, and hopefully that's 4 of 6 in the next week. But this was back when these 20 Eruzione was 25 years old. He was the oldest on the team. They had no business beating these guys even in one game. So that's why going into Olympic season, I just think it's, I love your guys' feedback on, is there a better, I guess there's not a lot to compare it to, but has there been a better built team for the situation than Herb Brooks did for that situation?
What do you think, Schenker?
Well, you can't beat Canada, USA. No matter when they play, women's, men's, it's so great. And I wanted to bring this up either this week or next week, but they got to let the Russians back in. Like, no offense to France, no offense like Switzerland and them, but they can't compete. Like, and I get why Russia's out. I get it, but you have to let them back in sooner or later to make it compete. Like, teams have to compete. And I don't know. My political view is let Russia back in, let the best back in, have the best competition you can for the Olympics. What do you think?
Halser?
Well, I'm not sure. I agree. I want them back in. It seems like it's a bit of an empty tournament, especially for us older guys who are used to focusing on the Russians or the Soviets over the years.
Yeah.
But, it was a different climate back then. I mean, talk about political tensions,
That's true.
just shortly, like there were shortly after that, I think it was the Iran hostage situation. And
Right, it was right during that, Halls.
it was
because
during, it was that same year, if memory serves. And Herb Brooks was just one of those weird right guy, right spot, a brilliant tactician, but with his personality, he could only succeed with what I call a captive audience. He's at a school there that the history books are filled with the Bobby Knights of the world who are absolute tyrants in their programs because they can be. It doesn't work at the pro level because pros can go elsewhere. They're getting paid a lot of money. They don't need the rah-rah speeches and all the crazy mental tactics
mental games.
that
they
Herb
make
Brooks
more
was
money
using.
than the coaches do in the pros.
Right. So at the end of the day, Brooks was the right guy because he's a guy who will take a captive audience and mold them to exactly. He's got the will and he's got the nasty streak in him that'll make them fall into line and do exactly what he wants. The other thing that you guys didn't bring up was conditioning. Brooks's first and foremost concern about playing the Russians is that they were the best conditioned athletes in the world. And we were going to skate 100 miles an hour for 60 minutes every night. And it'd be the other team that's lagging, the other team that's flagging, the other team that's getting tired in the third period, not us. That's the only way to play the Russians. You have to play them at 100 miles an hour from minute 1 to minute 60. And they were prepared. He was quite a taskmaster when it came to fitness. And there's a lot of video on the history of the Russians and the way they used to prepare for this. There is another documentary that's been out for
Miracles of Men.
Yes, it's called Miracles of Men, and it was the Russian side view
Tarasov.
of the 80s. And there was
even back to the 60s.
Right. And it was Anatoly Tarasov, who was the godfather, who was told by the Soviet Politburo to make us great at hockey. They had a version of hockey, which was kind of like, if you know the Irish hurley game, it was like hurley played on ice. It was a totally different sport, played on an ice rink the size of a soccer pitch. And then he was the one who said, okay, well, send me over to Canada and I'll find out, and they said, no, don't play like them. Find out what game they're playing and then figure out how we want to play it. Play it like Soviets. And so that was the culmination, 1980, of 10 to 12 years of utter international dominance, maybe more like 15 or 16, because they won every gold medal. Outside of Squaw Valley that you guys referenced, 1960, where Brooks got cut and the U.S. won gold in that one as well. The Russians had won gold in virtually every other Olympics over, once they arrived. Yes, and so that was the end of their utter dominance internationally. It wasn't even a Canadian team that stopped them. It was just a ragtag bunch of hairy weirdos from the U.S. who just got it right for a 2-week span. It was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and Halls to what you said, and it's perfect what you said. It was everything Herb Brooks was and couldn't do in the NHL. The other part of that was it was a short time period. He knew he only had to be a prick to them from July of 79 till the end of February of 80.
Right. Yeah, he had them. We all seen those stories with those college coaches, but I got you right here by the short and curlies. And if you don't like it, I'll cut you because the other 20 guys will do whatever I ask.
He reminds me of Nick Saban in college football. Like Saban had all that success at LSU. Then he wanted to go to the pros, jumps to Miami and realizes, like Brooks did when he went to the Rangers, these guys don't have to listen to me. No. Like, and Brooks actually called Claude Lemieux a cancer, and they ended up firing Brooks, and the Devils win a Stanley Cup 2 years later. But you can't talk to guys in the pros the way that you can in college sports. And that's a whole other conversation about how NIL is changing the mindset of college football. But I just think, like you guys said, he was the perfect guy for a short window. And he wasn't there to make friends. Like when they interviewed his son and daughter, like they were saying, like, where we were, all of our friends would talk about Mickey Mantle and all these other guys. Here's dad talking about Fetisov and all of these Russian guys that they had never heard of. Right. And he said, my dad, like when he had that look, like, I think it was the Finn that cross-checked Mark Johnson, their star player, Magic, they called him.
It was in the Czech game.
Was it the Czech game?
In the round robin game they blew out the Czech 7-3. It was that game.
That's right. And they said that the look in Herb's eyes, that was the first time that the players knew that Herb had their back and would go to war for them. The way he was yelling at the referees and the things that he was saying that he was going to make him eat that coho, and like it was entertaining how they showed that actual footage. But
they liked him a lot more years later because they realized how much they disliked. Well, like Hall said, they disliked him so much, but they couldn't go anywhere. They wanted to win Olympic gold, and they knew they had to toe the line until the end of February. And, years later, they respected the job he did, right? And then he died in a car crash in 2003. And
he went to Switzerland right after the Olympics, and he found out quickly. He went to HC Davos after he was done coaching the Olympics. And he only lasted 6 months there, and he resigned because the guys wouldn't listen to him.
Because they're pro hockey, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of money in Switzerland.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So...
No, good story, but hey, you know what? Now we flip over this. This will be the last time I wear this. I actually got this at Lake Placid when we visited a couple of years ago. Went through the exhibits and stuff they got.
Right.
Already, but it'll be coming off now because we're all red.
Yes,
now, so.
Absolutely.
I love it that the U.S. gets Sweden in the quarters because that's not going to be. I think the U.S. will win. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. I don't think.
But a guy like Nylander can light it up for one game. He's not going to do it all tournament. Right? I haven't even heard Nylander's name.
Not usually when it matters, but
no.
Whatever.
And he's banged up. We all know that.
Well, they're not real. They're not as deep as they have been in past Olympics.
No.
Good point.
No.
Yeah.
So
and the U.S. has looked slow, and they haven't started out well in any of their games. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The Tkachuk brothers bring what they bring, but they're not going to fly up and down the ice and pot you a lot of goals, right?
No.
Canada's got 7 or 8 guys better than those two at doing that.
Well, It's tough to get a read on the U.S. because they haven't played anybody.
True. Yeah.
Nobody's really played anybody. Only the Finns and the Swedes played each other. Other than that, it's been pretty.
Yeah, and Slovakia comes out first in the division.
Yeah. So let's get rid of all the minnows, and then now we're in the quarterfinals. Now's when as my old pappy used to say, it's time to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, fellas. Hey, I want to give a shout out to the work boys. I know they'll have Olympics on every day. Hey, everybody get on Instagram. The Ford boys always got the daily specials on there. They look real good.
Yeah.
Get down there, watch some Olympics.
Absolutely.
Visit the boys. So
awesome stuff, Graffer.
Thanks,
Appreciate you coming on. Dave Graff for Chew on
boys.
That.
Chat next week.
We'll hear from our sponsors, and then we'll have final thoughts.
Railside Organics, Stratford's first and only Indigenous owned and operated organic dispensary, located at 29 Monteith Avenue, serving those in need with holistic remedies. Come say hi to Curly and his staff and see why everyone is recommending Railside Organics. Call Bick Heating and Cooling for all your heating, cooling, and plumbing needs. Proud Rude Pro partner. BickHeatCool.com or 226-921-4848. Your home team specialists. Taking care of Stratford and area since 2013. This trending segment brought to you by Best Western Plus Arden Park Hotel, located at 552 Ontario Street, Stratford. Located steps from the Festival Theatre, while offering first-class accommodations with an extensive range of services, including conference center, banquet facilities, and heated indoor pool. Vreda Veld Painting, servicing Stratford and surrounding area. With over 20 years of experience to help you with all your painting and decorating needs, on time and on budget.
Final thoughts. Schenker, lead us off with your final thoughts.
Just want to give a shout out to the Tavistock Royals in their first round matchup with the Erin Outlaws, 4 versus 5. Tavistock was 5. They play in the OHL right now, formerly the WAA. They swept Erin 4-0. Andrew Masters had 3 straight shutouts.
Unbelievable.
He had 227 minutes of shutout hockey before getting scored on yesterday in the 3rd period. The name might sound familiar. He started his career in St. Mary's in 2013-14 before going to Georgetown and then the University of Guelph. So congrats to the Royals.
Good stuff. Halser?
Well, if I could just piggyback on what Schenker was saying, it was also nice to see our old buddy Colin Martin, former Stratford Fighting Irish player, getting a goal in that series as well. I saw him on the highlights of 519. He was definitely a fan favorite with Irish fans while he played there, and he played the kind of game that could really make fans love him. So it was nice seeing him. But my shout out goes out to the San Diego Padres, who have picked up Nick Castellanos for the same price as a backup catcher. The Philadelphia Phillies are going to pay Castellanos $20 million this summer to play for the Padres. The Padres, on the other hand, are paying about $760,000 to have this guy who could potentially hit 25 or 30 home runs. He's not a great outfielder. He's not a huge pickup, but he's a guy who did sign for big money, who could have some serious offensive upside. And a team that's got to fight in the division with those cheating Dodgers, every little helps. And so I just think it's cool when you see a small market team snap up a $20 million player and you get to pay him $750,000 from a large market team. So shout out to the Padres for scooping up an outfielder for practically free and then getting one of those big market guys to pay for him.
He better change his attitude in San Diego.
Yeah, he better not be bringing beers into the dugout.
Well, he can't. I mean, he's got to deal with Manny Machado, and Manny Machado's ego is the size of California. So he's not likely going to have a whole lot of luck, trying to take over that room. Who knows? Maybe in San Diego, it is Southern California. Maybe beers are allowed in the locker room.
You never know.
So big add to that one.
All right, my final thoughts. Anthony Kim, one of the greatest comeback stories in all of sports. Anthony Kim, for those of you that don't know, is a golfer. He shot a final round 9 under 63 yesterday at the Live Golf in Adelaide, Australia, to finish at 23 under, beating superstars Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm. After starting 5 shots behind them on Sunday, he earned $4 million for his win. Why is this one of the greatest comebacks? Well, folks, he's been 2 years sober. He's turned his life around completely after battling addiction and mental health issues over the past 12, 13 years. He burst onto the PGA scene back in 2007, winning 3 PGA Tour events before he was 25, joining only Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Sergio Garcia, and Adam Scott as the only 5 to do so in PGA history. He holds the Masters record for most birdies in a single round, carding 11 in 2009. At one time, he was ranked number 6 in the world. And where his demise began is when he was winning all these tournaments and the Ryder Cups and all of the accolades coming his way. Life was good. In 2012, he had surgery on his Achilles, and he just disappeared from golf and the spotlight for 12 years until recently resurfacing on the Live Tour as a wild card in 2024. He's been open about it with his addiction and mental health issues. So shout out to Anthony Kim. Welcome back, brother. Loved watching you and the crowd there in Australia get behind him. All right. For Brian Hawley and Ian Schenk, I'm Gary Ray, and you are watching episode 20 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.
See you, everyone.
Peace.